Timbuktu.
And you do what you do, but it's so small, and we have so many pages. How do you make it so it's this page, and then it's continuing on, so that's, you know, A through M, N through whatever on the, so it's, so when you print it off, you don't have a lot of data going up and down necessarily.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. Okay. So what I would do is basically the same thing. I'm going to highlight what I want to print. I'm going to go to page layout. Make sure my print area is set correctly. And then I'm going to go to scale to fit. I'm going to click on this little thing again. And rather than telling it to fit it to 1 page wide by 15 tall, I would then change it to 2 pages wide. Does that make sense? And see, now it's cut me off at the zip code, but I'm 30 pages across. So what we're going to do, it's got all the data printed on the first, from the first columns, and then it's carried that one column that it needed to over. Does that make sense?
I understand that.
Yeah.
Then
you have to put together a...
It's got 1 page on it.
Yes.
Then you got to keep them all together.
Yes, which I highly don't recommend. What I would recommend in that case is, rather than trying to make a puzzle out of your spreadsheet and print it out like that, a lot of the columns that you have in here, for instance, do you really care if they're a junior or a senior when you're trying to look at the spreadsheet?
Well,
No.
But I meant
So you would,
everything we need.
in the case of everything you need, that's fine. Then you would be, you could either print it out and make your little puzzle with your tape.
Can you go to your sheet 2, 3, 4? Can you do it that way? Take that section of it, put it into a different sheet, and then you have them.
Say it one more time. I don't think I'm following what you're asking.
Rather than this one big long combination thing, can you take the portion that would fit over to it and then put it into a different sheet? Or
A different worksheet?
Yeah.
Yes, but then you would disconnect your data. You might, as I said, you would increase your error ratio, okay? If you're operating across 2 different sheets, for instance, if we chose to go address to control home. Okay, so we're going to go shift end arrow down, but I don't actually want that column, so I'm going to go across. Okay, arrow 2, address 2. So we're going to take everything from address 2. Now this is one thing. If you're doing the shift end arrow down, it only goes to the next field that has a value. So if you have a lot of blanks, it's not going to like it. It'll keep stopping. Okay, so we're going to shift end city. That one's got a value in every field. So we would go hold our shift down, copy them over. You could cut and paste it to a different sheet. Okay? But now the problem runs into who is attached to this? Who actually lives in San Antonio 78249? Okay? So I don't recommend doing it. I recommend doing them all in the same spreadsheet, because it gives you all of your data intact.
It's just the printing.
It's just the printing that becomes the issue. Now, in most cases, rather than trying to print a huge spreadsheet, I have found that 99 times out of 100 you can eliminate certain data. For instance, everybody in this spreadsheet's in Texas. We don't need to know that. We can hide that. Okay? But you can make it go across. You can change the paper size. Okay? For instance, if we wanted to do that, we could go up here to Sheet Options and change the page. Here's the paper size right here. And we could change it to Ledger 11 by 17. Okay? And you'll see when you do that, it's got, you know, the data back the way it needs to be. You can see it very easily. Okay? There are different ways to format it that will make it easier, but I don't suggest ever chopping your data up into bits. Because then what happens is you go to, for instance, we want to sort. Okay, now sorting, there's different ways you can do it. You can click on the Data tab, and we can either sort alphabetically, A to Z. Okay, I want to sort by last name, so that's what I've selected. I don't have to select all of my data. Because my data is continuous, there's no columns or blank columns in between, the spreadsheet automatically knows to sort everything there. Okay? So I want it to do by last name. I'm going to go A to Z. And now everything is in alphabetical order by last name. And as you see, all of the columns that were associated with Mike Anthony have sorted along with him. Okay? One way to figure that out is if you, like for instance, will highlight Mike Anthony, we'll turn him yellow. Okay? And then we're going to go back to data and we're going to sort Z to A. Now it's telling me that I have selected a certain area only. So it was telling me you're about to make a mistake. Don't do that. Because I told it I wanted it to sort only that line, which is pointless. Okay? So I'm going to go back up here, just click anywhere in the sheet, and I'm going to tell it to sort Z to A. Now, it didn't sort the columns that were blank off to the side because it knew that it had nothing to do with my data. And there's Anthony, Mike Anthony, all sorted together right beside his stuff. Okay? Let's see. Okay. There are ways that you can go in here and check to see if you have duplicates. Okay. Let's see. Remove duplicates. I'm just going to tell it, remove duplicates. And yes, I want it to do all of those columns. And my data has headers. So now it knows what the column headers names are. Okay. Then hit OK. There's no duplicates. So every single person in here is an original person. But if you had one that you had combined and you needed to get rid of the duplicates, for instance, sometime with Frank, with his recruiting, he'll have a person who's done, he wants to recruit people who are doing business in the Woodlands, or he wants to recruit people that are doing business in Kingwood because he works at both offices. But you're well aware that you might actually you might sell a house in the Woodlands and you also might sell a house in Kingwood. So you would be on both lists. So if you bring all of those together, all of those spreadsheets together into one, you wouldn't want to email her twice because then she would be upset with you for marketing to her in the, from the same spreadsheet. You would want to get rid of the duplicates so that you're only marketing her one time or reaching out to her one time. Okay, let's see. One of the cool things that you can do in Excel is you can start a number scheme. You highlight it, and you see this little button here or this little handle? You can drag it down, and it will continue your count. So there's no need for you to sit. If you need that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to be there, you can drag it. You don't have to sit there and type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It will do it for you. You tell it what pattern you want to use, and it will do it. I am deleting all of that. I can do 2, 4, 6. And you can see it'll count it out by 2s. I'm giving it the pattern and it's telling me what it wants to do. I'm showing it what I want it to do. You can also do Monday, Tuesday, and it'll carry that pattern as well. Okay? Now this is one time, remember I showed you earlier that you could copy and then transpose when you paste? I'm going to select it there, and I'm going to transpose. Oops, doesn't like that, sorry. Copy, paste. And now it changed it. It put all of those across the top. So I didn't have to retype them. I just pasted them. Because most of the time in a calendar, you want it to be across the top. Sometimes you want it to be across the left, okay? Now I want to get rid of everything in the spreadsheet, so I'm going to click right here, this little tab in the corner. It highlights everything, and I'm going to right-click and tell it to clear contents. And everything is gone. Okay? Let's see.
So back up on your regular data,
Okay?
if you wanted to number that again, and why are the numbers like that? You know, why do they start at 1, you know what I mean?
No, tell me one more time.
Well, go back to the, where you have data on there.
Okay?
Okay, so, like under last name, why does that start at 1?
Under last name?
Right, why wouldn't that be a header and then the next one be number 1? I've always been confused by that.
Well, because it's actually a spreadsheet.
Right?
And these are headers. Line 1 is actually telling you, the program itself considers this spreadsheet to be a map.
Okay.
Okay? So you can format your data any way you want. I have chosen to format my data by putting a header at the top. You don't have to do that. You could have strictly values in here. And by doing that, what you would do is you could add a formula in here, and you could say full name. Okay? And I want to hook up a formula. I want to say equals last name, and I'm going to do some stuff here that may or may not make sense. Okay? I'm going to add them together. I want to put a space, oops, a comma, a space in between each value. And then I'm going to put the first name. Okay, so there's my formula. And what it's done is it's taken the last name, put a comma and a space between it and the first name. Okay? But the reason that what I'm saying to you is that I had to tell it exactly where each data field, what data field I wanted to, like a map. What section of this did you want to combine? And the first last name value is actually in A2, not A1, because A1 is my header. But it's up to you how you format.
So on this one here, how would you get those numbers to start with 1 being Adam Mura?
I would have to delete my headers.
What if you didn't want to delete them?
Then you would have to allow that first line to be your headers.
But you
I
have
thought
a
a
thing
while ago
called
you
headers though, don't you?
I thought a while ago you showed us how you could put numbers by the sides of them.
You can. I see what you're saying. I apologize. Okay, if you wanted your numbers to start here,
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Gotcha. That's what I'm talking
Okay, that's how you can do it. And you don't, I apologize, I did not understand. You don't have to highlight it the whole way and drag. If you click on this handle, double click it, it will go all the way to the bottom for you. See how it carried it down? Yes, Michael?
But you do have a thing for headers under something, because we did it earlier, but can you, oh, you know when you copied the header from one sheet, so it showed up on each sheet?
Right, the column headings.
Okay.
Right. We went to page layout, sheet options, and under here, rows to
Headers and
repeat.
Footers. Can you create one there that's not associated with the number on line 1, 2, or whatever?
Header and footer is actually something totally different.
Okay.
Header and footer is if I wanted to print out my sheet and I wanted to have, say, the date and the time at the top. Okay?
I think that's what Dean was kind of talking about also.
Okay. So,
Maybe, is that,
but yeah, if you actually needed to number, actually have it appear in there and number your data, you could just add a column, right-click, and insert a column, okay? And then start your numbers yourself. Now, you can also tell it to print these column headers. When you go to page setup, you can go over here to sheet and tell it to print, you can tell it to print the grid lines so it puts lines between them all. You can tell it to, let's see, where is it? Row and column headings, okay? So it's got the 1, 2, 3 on the side, and it's got the ABCs. Okay, that's helpful when you're trying to do a program and you're printing it out and you're going, okay, but I need to hook this to this. It tells you exactly the location in the map that is your spreadsheet, okay?
I have a question. If you have those headers on the second page, is it going to have a number on that line of headers also?
If you want it to,
No. I mean, I would think that'd be confusing because it's not a cell. You want numbered, but since this page has it numbered as number 1, if you put the header on page 2, is it going to be number 48, so to speak?
so,
the only time that those numbers are going to appear is if I click row and column headings. Okay, so they appear now. I've got the A, B, all the way through L, and I've got the numbers on the side. But only because when I went to sheet options, I told it that I wanted it to print row and column headings. Normally, I don't do that. It's very rare that I actually even want to see that information.
Row meaning name, address, that sort of thing?
Row meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oh, I'm
6.
talking across the top.
You're talking about the headers.
You have the header,
Mhm.
and the header is line 1, and
Mhm.
the first person is line 2.
Right.
And then you have a second page, and you want to have the columns of name, office, etc., and they're all numbered. Is that going to be number 48 or so?
If you actually go in and manually number them, yes. In this case, I've told it to repeat the rows at the top, but I did not ask him.
So, okay, if you print preview and you go to the second page, I think that would answer the question. If you have the numbers, the one, because if last name is number 1, and you've got the second page with last name, and say you have 10 on a page, is last name going to show up as 11 on the second page? Is that
Yeah,
what
that's-
you're
yeah.
asking?
Not unless you tell it to print the numbers, no.
But why wouldn't you want the numbers so you can see, because maybe it's not people, maybe it's closings for each month.
Know how many?
Okay. So what you're saying is you would want to add this little column off to the side with the numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then I'm going to shift and arrow down. Didn't work because I had a blank value there. Tell it my print area that I want to look at. Page layout, print area, set print area. And then I'm going to go to scale to fit. You've got all your tabs across the top. Sheet, print preview, and yes, your second page would start with number 47.
And it's going to have the header, or that's going to be the person?
header's up there
Yeah,
also.
The headers are up there because we told it to print the header earlier. Remember we told it rows to repeat at the top.
Page 1 is going to have number 1 for the header. Page 2, the header does not have a number.
Correct.
It's just repeating. Okay.
No, the header doesn't have a number, right.
And that answers that.
Okay, sorry. All right. Now, many times you'll have something, for instance, if you had a spreadsheet and you had, like my name, okay? My name is long, it's extended, and it's a pain in the tush, okay? I don't want my spreadsheet to be wider. I want my spreadsheet to be one column. I want multiple lines in one cell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go F2, let me edit this cell. I'm going to click in here and I want to do Alt Enter. And then it puts my name on 2 different lines. Okay? Now you see all that space I've got at the top? I don't want that. I want to get rid of it. So I'm going to come over to the row and I'm going to click the bottom line, double click it, and it'll shrink it back up to exactly what's needed for the data that's in that cell.
Do that again?
Remember all the blank space at the top? Okay, it's just like we did the columns. Remember how we double clicked on the far right line? I'm going to double click on the bottom line and shrink it up.
How did it shrink?
It got rid of the extra space at the top of the cell.
You just double click.
I double clicked, and when I double clicked, what that's telling it is get rid of the extra space. Make this cell only big enough for the data that's in there. No extra space. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, let's go over.
Okay, when you do that like that,
Yeah.
what happens when you make it then a CSV delimited file?
What do you mean?
Well, you want to export it or something into Outlook. Is it gonna?
It's not going to save my formatting. If I had gone and done it on 2 different lines, when I save it as a CSV file, it will get rid of that. All the data will be on one line, and it'll have a funky little character in there where I did that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. It'll take it all the way back to text, which means the programming language that was used.
It will pick it all up. That was the point.
It will
take
pick.
the first line for the rest of it.
No, it will not. It will take it and make it all into.
But that funky little sign will be in there when you go to.
It will be in there, but you can get rid of it simply by clicking F2 and getting rid of it. Okay, let's look at. Oh shoot. No, I want that to go away. Don't save. Go away. All right, I want to look at the file. This is the way the text, comma delimited file that I pulled up off the Trek worksheet or website. Okay? As you can see, this is not an Excel spreadsheet, it's just hard data. This is a comma delimited file. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to open Excel. Okay. I want to go to File, Open. I want to find that comma delimited file, which is right here, and I'm going to open it. And it's telling me, oh my God, there's a problem with your data. It's all mixed up. How do you want me to sort it? This is called a text import wizard, okay? Now I want to tell it that it is delimited, which means that there's a comma or a space between each piece of information, okay? So I want to leave it at delimited. Very few files are actually fixed with, okay? What that is actually a programming file where it's told you that each column is 20 characters long. There are very few of them are like that. So choose delimited. You want to go, our data does not have headers here, so I will not select this. I'm going to hit next. Mine are, and it shows you how it's thinking about or how it believes that the data should be sorted out right here. So right now, this is the way it's looking to sort my data. And that does look correct. That is how I want it to do it. So that is by tab, okay? You could have, some of them will have comma, some of them will have a space. I'm going to hit next. That's exactly the way I want it to happen. I'm going to hit finish. Okay, there's my data. Now, it's still a comma delimited file, so I want to go File, Save As, Desktop, Text tab delimited, which is basically the same thing. And I want to save it as an Excel workbook. I already did, so it's telling me I'm going to replace my file, which is okay.
You save it as what, text file?
I'm saving it as an Excel workbook. Okay? All right. And then here's the, that's not the right one. Here's the Excel spreadsheet that I made earlier of that same data. And I put the column headers in there. There was a spreadsheet or a PDF attached to the file that told me what each column was for. Okay? Now, you can do basic formulas very easily. Many times you want to do a sum formula. So we're going to go to the Formulas tab. And there's many different formulas that you can use. Many times, like I say, if you want to know something quickly in a spreadsheet, you can hit Control, pick out exactly what you want to know. I want to know what those four add up to, and it's down here at the bottom. The average is 45. There's 4 that I've selected, and the sum of those is 180. Okay? You can do it for the whole kit, kat, and caboodle. Shift and arrow down. The sum is 5,567,061. There are 204,222 different values. Okay? So you can, I mean, just imagine what you would do if you were looking at a spreadsheet that had all of your sales for the year. You could see, the sum of all of your sales. You could see that the average price or home value that you sold, you could see what the average was right there. And you could see how many you had done very quickly. You can also right-click on this and change it to different things. Okay? I recommend leaving it alone as much as possible unless you know what you're doing, but you can change it to minimum, maximum, have it show all of that. All kinds of different stuff. Okay? Let's see. All right, I already showed y'all how to add tabs and rename them. Okay. You can add as many tabs as you want. Do you remember how to look at both of them at the same time? You go to View, New Window, View, Arrange All, Windows of the Active Workbook, and then you could look at both tabs at the same time. Okay? You can do the same thing with another one. See, I've added another worksheet in the workbook down here, but it's not where I want it to be. I want it to be worksheet 3, but it's in the wrong order. So I'm going to click it and drag it where I want it to be. Okay? Now you see this one's disappeared. I can't really see it anymore. You can click back over that way with these little arrows. Okay? Many people will have a January through December file. I know Jean has one file where she has every single agent in this office and their compensation plan. So she can pull it up at any time and go, oh, okay, this is what they do, and this is what we've got with them, and that and the other. Everybody has their own. So she's got a little worksheet that has everybody in there. Okay? You can also color code these. You can choose the tab color red. I know Jean does red for people over at the Oak Ridge office. Okay? So she can easily pick them out. You can also highlight and work with, for instance, 2 spreadsheets. Okay? Like this one. If I wanted to copy just this worksheet, and I want it to go, I don't want to take it out of this one, I just want to copy it, and I want to make it a file of its own. For instance, I know I'm going to be doing some formulas and stuff, some creative stuff, and messing some stuff up, possibly. So I want to make a copy. I'm going to go Move or Copy. I'm going to go Create a Copy. I'm going to tell it I want it to start a new book. I don't even want this one in the same book. And it's going to take everything in that spreadsheet and move it to an entirely new workbook. Now, what you don't realize is that that is a lot of data. This is the 204,222. Then we just, rather than copying and pasting it, we just simply told it, make a copy, put it in a new workbook. Okay?
What does REB mean?
Real estate broker.
Okay.
Yeah, there's different types. There's a broker with a corporation license, broker with an LLC. Let's see here. BRK is individual broker. I'm sorry, REB is broker organization branch. My apologies. That's what that means. These people are, they've got a little bit of everything in here. It's actually this file is very interesting. For instance, if we want to look at all of the people that they have that are deceased, we would go over here to license type or license status, and deceased is actually 80. Okay?
These are all Remax people?
No, these are all Texas. This is Trex file on every single licensed person. Inspectors, real estate people, everything.
They automatically update them when new people come in.
They do, once a month. So there's all kinds of good stuff in here. Okay? Then
Do you have to go in each time?
you go into the Trek website each month and you can download this file.
You can.
Is there a way to alphabetize the people? Like when it's in a spreadsheet, is there a thing to click on to alphabetize?
There are different ways to do that, yes. You can do, if you have filters enabled, you can actually drop it down, decide what you want it alphabetized by, okay? For instance, you could alphabetize by their name, or you could alphabetize by the city that they're in, what you're trying to figure out. You would drop down the filter and you can do sort A to Z or sort Z to A. If you had assigned colors, you could actually sort by color, okay? Or you can click right here on this column and you can go to data, and there's buttons right here that you could use. And it's telling me, okay, you're about to screw up. You just selected one little section. I want to expand the selection, so it's going to do it for me, and it's going to sort everyone alphabetically by that one. Okay? And then remember, you can undo if you need to. This is a large file, so it does take a little time. If you're dealing with much larger files, it can really take some time. But there's a lot of information that you can do with these spreadsheets. For instance, Frank and I maybe later will go through, look this over, and we'll want to look at individual brokers. And we'll want to go through and probably look for people who have a mailing address in the Woodlands. Now, I can go scrolling through here and try to find it, or I can go to Text Filters, Contains Woodlands. And it's going to pick out everyone that's in the Woodlands that has a broker's license. Okay? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, now see this column? It's got too much data in it. It doesn't like the way I've got it formatted. So I've just stretched it out. Okay? But there's many different ways that you could use this. You could sort it by the city, or you could sort it by name, whatever you want to do. Now remember, when you're using filters, be very, very careful to go back up to data and hit clear. Okay? Because if you don't, then you're only looking at part of your worksheet. So you're leaving people off. In that case, we would have been leaving, thinking we were playing with the whole spreadsheet. We had eliminated all salespeople, all corporation brokers, LLC brokers, everything. Okay, so you don't have the whole picture. Always make sure to go up and hit clear. Okay? Do you have any questions about this stuff? Anything you want to start with? No? Okay. All right. So, for instance, if we wanted to add up this column right here, we're going to do arrow down. Okay. We're going to go to the very bottom, and I want a sum of everything in this column. Okay? So I'm going to go to Formulas, and right here is a nifty little button called Auto Sum, and it is very smart. It's picked out the closest data to the cell that I chose, and it's telling me, I think that you want me to sum column E2 to column E whatever. And that is what I wanted it to do, okay? We'll try that again. Auto sum E2 to E2004, 224. Is that what you want it to do? Yes. I'm going to hit enter. And there it is. So there's my value. Now I can format that value so that it looks like a real value, like it should.